Welcome to episode 14 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of November 16th. We're the Casual X-Men chat show where we chat everything happening in Marvel's mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the Rumble Pack to my Nintendo 64 controller, my one and only Omega mutant, Keegan. How are you, buddy?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for this week's recording. So,
all right, this week we are talking about Immortal X-Men number 8. We have a new X-Men crossover event announced because we didn't have enough of those going on. We have some really cool new Sinister Design drops, and we're going to play a few games. So first, I want to start with the first ever Arakko Public Radio X-Men team draft.
okay.
We're each going to draft 5 X-Men related characters. We're going to check in 6 months. So this is episode 14. So what is that, episode 40-ish? We'll check back in. And we're going to see whose team fared the best. Now, that's open for interpretation. Is that the team who racks up the most wins? Is that the team that has the most involvement in whatever's going on? I don't know. We can decide as we go. But I want to see who can come up with the best team. And we're going to go with Krakoa rules. So like conventional villains that are currently in like loosely affiliated with either Krakoa or Arakko, they're fair game.
Okay.
Does that work?
Sinister is on the board, essentially.
Absolutely. Yes. You up for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
All right. You know what? And since I made the game, I say you get first draft.
Okay.
Who's your number one pick? The number one pick overall.
Number one overall pick. I'm going to go with an easy one. Hard to go wrong with. I'm taking Cyclops.
He was definitely in that top of the bracket.
Yeah.
You already said it. I'm taking Sinister.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a good place in 6 months.
Yeah, I figured. I was like, I can either take Sinister or Cyclops. I know you're going to take one of them. All right, let's see. Number two, I'm going to go with 6 months, huh? I'm going to go with Storm.
I like it. Strong pick. All right. I know I'm taking a Wolverine. I'm just deciding between Laura and Logan.
That's very valid.
But with all the old woman Laura stuff and just how much I love Laura, I'm going to take Laura Kinney.
Yeah, I can't blame you with that one. Okay, let's see. What am I taking next? I'm taking Legion.
Smart move. I am in that same wheelhouse. We know during Sinister he's going to have a bad time, but I'm going to take Nightcrawler because I think he comes out of it in a strong position.
I think that's fair. So does that give us each 3?
Yeah, we're at 3, so we each have 2 more. So there's plenty of people left. This would be a way better like game with like 4 people, but that's okay.
I'm taking Cable.
Okay. We're gonna talk Cable later because I don't know if you saw, he has an amazing design in that collection of designs we're gonna look at. I got my Legion of X rep. Got my Immortal rep. I have my X-Men rep. So I need my red rep. Take them. I'm gonna take Lotus. Lotus Logos.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like that. Okay.
The current head of the table.
All right.
Last pick. Give me your sleeper
and final pick. I'm doing something that I'm not proud of. This is a purely strategic pick.
Are you taking the furry blue guy?
Oh, I'm going Hank McCoy, baby. I am not proud of it. It is a defensive strategic pick.
I'm going to tell you, I am hoping beyond hope that that's a bad choice. I'm hoping he is in a bad place by 6 months from now.
I'm hoping so too, but we'll see.
Can't believe she's on the board. I'm taking Jean Grey.
Oh, wow. The value of Jean Grey at 5. Oh my gosh.
Insanity. All right, so our final teams are Cyclops, Storm, Legion, Cable, Beast, Sinister, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Lotus Logos, and Jean Grey. Ooh. I'll be honest, I think you had a better draft, but we will see 6 months from now.
It's going to be very interesting. I think one of the big tells will be red.
Absolutely.
Our
Well, and just
representatives from Red are, yeah.
how many ramifications Sinister has also, whether it's
Yes.
another event that comes and goes or if it has the ripples it has the potential to have.
Yeah. Man, when we revisit it, it'll depend. Has Beast fallen or is Beast at his peak? I don't know.
So today they released the solicitations for February, and the cover of Wolverine is just a super menacing Beast holding. No, I guess it would be X Force, whichever book he's. But it's him holding that Wolverine skull with the reflection on it. Terrifying cover, and the fact that that's 2.5 months from now, and he's still menacingly holding the skull tells me we're in for a long haul with Beast.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about ramifications, we're going to deal with ramifications of Sinister. You want to talk Immortal X-Men?
Yeah, let's do it.
This was an amazing issue that had tons of callbacks, tons of setups. So it's a longer recap than usual. Feel free to stop me and jump in if we need to, and then we got our usual chat at the end. But it opens with a data page that's a Nietzsche quote. Fate is the word cowards use to describe things they're too weak to change. Fun fact, though, this isn't actually a Nietzsche quote, but is something Charles Xavier said to Mr. Sinister after beating him in this old X-Men Legacy issue by Mike Carey. So it's a fake quote because Xavier also claimed it was a Nietzsche quote. So it was like a weird reference to a fake, like it was a real quote of a fake quote, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Either way, I found that funny. Then the actual issue opens in 1943 with Mystique breaking into the Air Force base at Alamogordo, which would go on to be the site of the first ever nuclear test in 1945. She transforms into a sexy, like Rosie the Riveter type blonde to seduce two soldiers before beating them up, stealing one's identity to get into the base. She works her way through the base, monologuing about how throughout their 100 years as a couple, her and Destiny spent more time apart than together. She finds Destiny and confronts her. How could she be working on a eugenics project? But Destiny insists that while it's all definitely bad, that the work she's doing with Mr. Sinister is vital for the future of all mutants. Mystique leaves heartbroken. The story then jumps back to 1895, and Mystique, in her Sherlock Holmes disguise, recruits Destiny to help her solve the Jack the Ripper case. News broke of a survivor, Nathaniel Essex, who was found beaten and naked after one of the murders. Sherlock and Destiny went to meet him where they found a like frail and bitter, misogynist douchebag guy. He references his wife's death and refers to mutants as possessing the Essex factor, which sets the story a few years after the version of his origin we got in the 1990 series Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, which is a great story. Like if we ever have another slow week, that might be something that we read for
That could
extra
be fun.
material because I love that book. They debate his ideas about genetics and Charles Darwin. Mystique decides he's too frail and sickly to be the murderer, of course, so they leave with Destiny coyly offering, "Do you need a clue?" And Mystique saying, "No, I can solve it. I'm Sherlock Holmes." Then Mystique wanders the street dressed as a harlot, trying to lay a trap. She hears a scream in an alley, so she races to catch the Ripper, who's the Mr. Sinister we've grown to know. He's a blue feral vampire with a diamond on his head, and he's got his victim's head literally like crushed against a brick wall. She shoots his head half off, like literally a hole in his head, and he taunts her that he's still standing, and he escapes. She chases him home where Destiny's waiting, because of course she's a step ahead. And when they go inside, Mr. Sinister is transforming back into Nathaniel Essex. He reveals his whole origin story with Apocalypse, who he refers to as an ancient Essex man, which I love that. I love the Essex man thing. And then tells the tales of his like desperate attempts to prolong his own life. He reveals he foresees terrible wars and that Darwin isn't the only Charles who will vex him, which is a reference to Charles, but then also really to Charles Babbage, who predicted both computers and AI. He rambles about how every option needs to be explored: human science, space technology, mutants, and superstition, specifically those four. He then says, "We got to work together." But Destiny clocks him and says, "They'll never work with him." They make sure he gets committed to an asylum where he dies overnight, seemingly of like a heart attack or embolism. But he's accusing someone of being, you're a ghost. You're a ghost. And in that last panel, there does kind of look like a shadow over him. Like I think it's meant to be vague, but if you look, it looks like there's a shadow hovering over him. The issue ends with Destiny going back to the house, going into the basement, and revealing 4 empty cloning chambers, one with each suit from a deck of cards. How early did I call that? I mean, I guess maybe it was obvious because we had 2 suits, and why would they only do 2 suits? But I'm so glad we got that reveal.
Oh yeah, no, that it was a good like confirmation of what we were expecting at the very least.
Yeah. This, I know I say this constantly. This issue was so good.
Immortal just it's doing that thing that Red does where it's just like every single issue finds a new way to impress me.
Yeah. And we've talked about it. These issues focusing on characters I wouldn't think an issue focusing on blow my mind every time. Like, I don't know that I was super excited about a Mystique issue. This was fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, good.
It was so much fun, and I really was not stoked on a Mystique issue.
Yeah.
I was like my surprise level of enjoyment of this one matches my surprise level of enjoyment for the Sebastian Shaw issue.
Yeah, a very similar vibe of like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to get through an issue of these 2 characters at some point, and they might be the 2 best issues. This was fantastic. Can I tell you what I really want? I want an episodic series of Mystique and Destiny Sherlock Holmes adventures. They just each issue they solve a different mystery together.
I like these like reveals of like, okay, so in the Marvel universe, all of these people were these famous ideas. Like
he's both Jack the Ripper and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's hilarious to me.
No, it's fantastic. I was just like, okay, so we're going all out with that. That's fantastic.
I want the full reveal of why he had both solutions. That clearly he was turning into Sinister, but then he also had the clones going in the basement at the same time. Very cool though.
Yeah, I think we could probably get an answer to that at some point because
I'm sure at some point it seems like we're going to be very Sinister focused for the near future. Which, if you're my friend on Discord, you know that's been my profile picture for over a year. I love me some Mr. Sinister, so I'm up for us focusing on him for a while.
Yeah, I mean he's such a fun villain, and even when he's like not totally a villain and he's just kind of helping, but maybe not helping that much. Like I don't know, he's fun to see talk more than anything.
I feel like some of the joy I get from him is what people described their joy at Deadpool, if that makes sense. Like
totally.
He's not the dumb humor of Deadpool, but I just enjoy his chaos the way I feel like a lot of people talk about loving Deadpool's chaos.
I think I can agree with that completely.
I do have a few questions for you. The ending that, like, Destiny coming down into the basement and seeing the cloning chambers, I've seen people reading it 2 different ways. That it was the reveal of that was her discovering it for the first time, or that was like a subtle reveal that she'd been helping him all along and keeping it for Mystique, because Mystique was narrating, but we'd seen other parts where her narration was wrong throughout the issue in subtle ways. So I don't know where I stand on that.
That is a good point. I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
I initially my initial reading was just discovering it. That's But like if you go back, I'm going back and I'm looking at it, I can see it that way. Yeah. I'd be happy with either reading of it, really.
I think I would too. There are things that line up better with each. So I think it depends what ends up being important moving forward from like reveals we've already gotten. So I don't know if you caught, there was 2 really cool parallels to the very first issue of Immortal X-Men.
Oh, I don't know.
So the opening scene of the very first issue, I don't know if you remember, Destiny meets Sinister on the same bench from House and Powers of X where Xavier and Moira always met. And she basically tells him, hey, we have to be on the same side, which is the opposite of the conversation that they had in this issue. So, like, whatever it is, 50 years later, she came back and had realized that, oh no, we need to work together. But then the the Sinister that's on the bench suddenly dies, does the whole grasping his throat thing, and says, "You're a ghost, you're a ghost, you're a ghost," and dies. So it happening in this issue, even though it happened earlier, was a callback to that from the very first issue of Immortal X-Men.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
So it's another case of just showing how much Kieran Gillen is just foreshadowing, like he's clearly scripting his entire arcs before he
Yeah.
sits down to write something, which is really cool. So do we know what the "you're a ghost" is referring to? No, not yet. But we know that two different Nathaniel Essexes have died well in the presence of Mystique and Destiny saying it. So whatever's going on, it's
Very interesting.
yeah, I thought that was really cool. Speaking of Immortal X-Men #1, Sinister Secrets. Do you remember what the Sinister Secret was for this one? It was pretty on the nose. Acting like being immortal is a new thing is very gauche. Some of us have been rocking the look for a while, and trust me, we've had all manner of adventures. So they'd set up from the beginning this was going to be a throwback issue, but it's cool that it literally shows us the beginning of Sinister's immortality.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't even think of that.
Teeing up the next one. Next issue. Look on the bright side. The council chambers being white means it's easy to see where you have to mop up the bloodstains. So I think stuff hits the fan next issue.
Yeah, I would expect so with that.
Well, and it's interesting because it's the ones after that start the path down the like, oh, finally someone who deserves it gets the pit. Oh no, it's all dark. It's all closing in on me. But I'm very curious if those, like, do the Sinister Secrets pause during Sins of Sinister? Are they still tied?
Oh,
Because they're labeled like 11, 12, 13, but those are all going to come out after Sins of Sinister. So we were thinking it referred to Wolverine in the pit, but it might refer to him getting punished after Sins of Sinister, which would
mm,
make my #1 pick a terrible choice if he's in the pit by the time we reassess.
that is true. Wow. Yeah, I wonder if they will pause. Does well?
It would make sense both ways. I could see them referring to not issues 11, whatever it is, 11, 12, 13, or 10, 11, 12. I don't remember the numbers. It's the three after the next one. Or I could see it referring to Immortal X-Men 1, 2, 3. I could see it
That's
going
what I
either way.
was wondering. I was wondering if immoral makes it pause that count.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I could see it going either. I mean, I don't think the pit is going to be relevant in Immoral just because we're going to be jumping 10 years and 100 and 1,000 years into the future. So, but we don't know. We don't really know what Krakoa is going to look like. So, could go
Yeah.
either way. The Four Sinisters. So, first two are easy. Mr. Sinister is the mutant, um, and Doctor Stasis is the human technology robot like
Mhm.
side of things. So the two things we have left are space technology and um, superstition, or superstition tamed by technology is how he phrases it in the issue. So I would say my prediction of Orbis Stellaris is not for sure, but like was
It's feeling
very much
better and
supported.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much supported. I don't know who else would be space technology that could be a Sinister. And I sent you a little bit about this on Discord, but our buddy Joe of X and I were talking about the superstition one, and I think we nailed this down. So total credit to him. He's the one that threw it out first, but Mother Righteous is has a mask that covers her forehead. Has a very genetic toying with things role. She's literally messing with mutant genes because the Nightcrawler is all messed up now. Angel, like that's her gimmick.
Hmm.
And I was like, it kind of bugs me because the art isn't very accurate if it is, because her mask like doesn't go high enough on the forehead that it would cover. So like I was kind of hemming and hawing, kind of scrolling when he first suggested her. But the first arc of Legion of X, she made Tumult, right? Which is
Right.
literally a chimera of gods. Like, it just, I think that's it. I think those are the four Sinisters.
Yeah, it's really the chimera of gods that it really does a lot. It does a lot of the heavy lifting.
That's what finally convinced me. And if you think about like one in each, so we've got the three writers going into Sins of Sinister. We got one that's super relevant to Immortal X-Men. It would make sense if the other two are super important to um, Legion and X-Men Red because those are the two books that are tying in. And then obviously X-Men is the other flagship book, so that's where uh, Doctor Stasis is. I do think her name fits the pattern a little less. Like it's still adjective than noun,
Mhm.
um, but I don't know because Sinister, Stasis, Stellaris are all that like S.
Yeah.
But I did see someone point out that righteousness is basically the opposite of sinister.
Yeah.
So that kind of clicked.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Being the one female version too.
Yep. So it just
Yeah.
plays with the idea of opposites. I'm liking the idea.
Yeah, I could get into that. Definitely.
So I started looking around if anyone else had suggested her after Joe suggested, and like there was a couple people on Reddit that said her. The other one that I saw people mentioning was the new like magic prime minister from the Knights of X, and I can't remember what it was called before that, but that whole the Excalibur run, and
Yeah.
I could see that, but honestly, to me, the Mother Righteous one just feels right. Like if it's someone we've met, there's always a chance
Mhm.
it's someone we haven't met yet, but
Yeah, it's like it could be someone we haven't met yet, but I also feel like I don't know that it seems like we're pretty late in the game to have not met them at all.
yeah, definitely. The Chimera of Gods thing that just keeps coming back. That just keeps coming back to my
Yeah,
mind.
that one really does keep just coming back, and I'm like, well,
Definitely. Uh, a couple other like cool history things. So the Alama Gordo is both like it is the real place where the very first nuclear tests like ever happened. But did you know it was also pretty important to like X Men history?
really.
So way back in X Men number 12, so we're talking pre Chris Claremont. We're talking like the early days of X Men. They established it as Professor X's father's workplace, and they were implying basically that Professor X became one of the first ever mutants because of the radiation and like his father's job. And I mean,
Okay.
obviously, eventually we got much a very different history for mutants, and the timeline just no longer lined up. That
Yeah.
Charles Xavier's dad couldn't be there anymore. But I thought that was a really cool use of something we'd seen multiple times before.
Oh, absolutely. I did like the subtle references to like the to him and Charles when he was talking Sinister. Like,
Oh, yeah, they had some subtle and they had some super unsubtle, like
yeah,
the oh he's planting his genes in families like the Xaviers and the Shaws and I don't even remember the others, but yeah, they're just
yeah,
listing 4 or 5 prominent families, and I'll never be free of the Charleses in my life, will I, or whatever. And he's talking about Babbage and
and Darwin at the
Darwin, but
time.
Destiny's like, oh yeah, I'm afraid you never will. No. There was so much good dialogue in this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I found it really funny when they first go meet Nathaniel and he's being an absolute misogynistic prick. And I was sitting there thinking like, man, I know you're a psychopath. I know you murder, but let's tone it down, Sinister. Like I want to like you. You're one of my favorite characters. Let's tone down the bigotry, sir. Was all that was going through my mind.
One of the things that was fantastic about this issue was just how dense it was without feeling like too much.
Yeah.
Like it was very dense with information, but I never at once felt overwhelmed by that.
It's something Kieran Gillen has a real knack for.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
All right, let's talk Sins of Sinister Designs. I will post a link to these in the show notes, but we'll also be descriptive when we're talking about them. Uh, this is a pretty substantial gallery they posted of both Paco Medina and Alessandro Vitti's character designs. My favorite by far is Cable 100. So do you want to we talk him first?
Yeah, let's go Cable 100.
So he looks like he is fully the techno organic virus has fully replaced half of his body with like legit super colorful cables. So uh I am not the biggest Cable fan, but I am absolutely in love with that visual. And I don't know if any of these designs are going to make it out of the Sinister timeline. I feel like if anybody is going to travel back in time, year 100 Cable seems like a likely candidate because he's already a refugee from the future.
True.
I would be okay with that design taking over forever.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've always kind of loved the whole bioorganic techno combination look of things.
Yeah.
And the fact that the cables coming out of Cable's arm almost represent like musculature, like muscle fibers and
Yeah.
stuff,
They
is
follow
really cool.
they follow the pattern of his muscles, which definitely amplifies everything. Probably my second favorite, and I hope that we get an action figure of. Do you want to describe Captain America Year 10?
Yes, Captain America Year 10 is very I love it. It's essentially Captain America, but if someone took a sinister head off of the figure and plopped it onto the Captain America figure and
Yeah.
turned all of the white into black or gray.
Yep. Yeah, so it's literally just like gray into the color scheme, and then the A has a diamond over the top of it, and the shield has a black star on it.
Mhm.
He's got the full Sinister goatee. Um, I'm very curious how this is going to play out because some of the characters seem to just be replaced by Mr. Sinister, and some of them seem to still be versions of themselves. So I have no idea what's going to happen in this crossover, but the designs are gorgeous.
Honestly, my favorite part about Captain America Year 10, and it's such a stupid thing to love so much, is the the black wings on his helmet.
Yes, yes, the winglets.
It's so funny. Like, for some reason, that's what gets me.
I think because I'm pretty sure actual Captain America hasn't had the winglets in years, so I think it's a throwback. So I think that makes it stand out. And
So, okay, my favorite.
is gonna be Wagnerine.
How did you know? How did you know Wagnerine was my favorite?
Because she was the next one I wanted to talk about, anyways.
Oh, she's fantastic.
So for those who either haven't seen it or can't piece together by the name, it is what appears to be Laura Kinney infused with Nightcrawler's DNA. So the blue skin, kind of his facial expression, like we've never seen her grin like that.
Yeah.
The Nightcrawler tail and a diamond on her forehead.
Yeah. And I would say, like, really more of Nightcrawler's bodysuit, but with Wolverine's helmet gray instead of the classic yellow.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cut like some of the outfits we've seen her wear. Like she usually has.
True. That's a good point.
But it's his color scheme, so yeah. It's a blend of the two outfits, I'd say. Apparently, Nightcrawlers is going to be very literal. It sounds like everybody's going to be Nightcrawlered up over in that book.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
One that throws me off. So there's Mr. Sinister Year 100. Mm-hmm. Is that supposed to be a blend with Colossus?
I was wondering that. It kind of looks like it could be. The vagueness of the design itself makes me wonder. Or maybe just because it's more of like a rough draft drawing, it seems like. Not in a negative way or anything.
No, I think you're right. Well, and just Vitti's, because these are just pulled from the character sheets apparently, and it seems like he's got a much more sketch quality to his designs, whereas the Paco Medina ones seem very final.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely could be a Colossus fusion because that would make sense.
I mean, it
That.
could just also be supposed to be aging because it's got gray around the temples, but also it seems weird that he would age in the next 100 years when he hasn't aged much in the last 100 years. But
Yeah.
and then we had seen this one last week, but the Nightcrawler Year 100 design revealing him as a fully transformed beast with chain and shackles, and definitely seems like Kurt's not done with his transformation.
Yeah, that's it's getting more and more intense if that is the way he is headed. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's monstrous. It looks like it reminds me actually, and it just hit me like as we were talking about it now, reminds me of a Deathclaw from Fallout.
Oh, that is a apt description.
Yeah. Very much reminds me of that.
And then we get into some that are less familiar to us characters. There's Anti-Fortune Year 1000, who looks like a female Nightcrawler with a big ass cable gun and like two. She's got all the suits represented on her outfit. Has the diamond on her head. So,
And I want to say like also a lot of Domino within her as well.
that's super accurate. Yeah,
Yeah.
good call. And then Ironfire Year 1000, who just looks like Odin to me. That's all I see when I see him.
Yeah. I don't I it's not that I don't like it. I'm just not jumping up and down about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it's going to be very much something relevant to those three issues, but definitely did not grab me the way the other designs do. And then there's Rasputin Year 1000, which
Mm-hmm.
is looks like kind of Mad Max, like surviving woman, and that's throwing me off. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
that
a descendant or I like the design. It's another one that has that same color scheme as a few of them, the red, orange, and which still evokes Colossus for me for some reason. I don't know.
yeah, and I mean like Rasputin, like
Yeah, the family, obviously.
like it's all there.
This visually now, like I've always been into the plot, but these character designs are all really cool. We didn't talk about Storm. Storm looks great. There's a Year 10 Storm that
Yeah.
looks like she's fully armored out with a lot of Magneto tributes. She's got the Magneto cloak. She's got the Magneto style hood. She's clearly still evoking her dear friend 10 years later. So we know he's not going to be revived between now and the beginning of Sins of Sinister, at least.
Yeah, it's I think it's a cool design and it almost looks like some kind of like funeral garb even in a
Yeah.
way just because it is so dark and everything.
That's
I don't
totally
know.
accurate.
It's cool to see how we're going to get there.
Definitely. All right. So we actually have. We talked about coming out of it. We know one thing that's going to happen coming out of it. It's the other X-Men team, so it probably won't be super tied into it. But we have another X crossover to already talk about. So we have Dark Web that's sort of already started, but starts officially in a couple weeks. We've had a prelude issue. Then we have Sins of Sinister, and we thought then we have Fall of X. There's a new one we have to slide in between there. Are you reading Captain Marvel?
No.
I have to admit, that is a complete blind spot for me. I feel like I'm caught up on most of my Marvel characters, but Captain Marvel's 40 issues in, and I have not dove in. I've heard Kelly Thompson's run's amazing, but I just haven't made time. And I think I'm going to have to now because over there, Carol Danvers is taken to the stars to answer a distress call only to confront horrors at the hands of her vengeful old enemies, the Brood. Luckily for Captain Marvel, she won't be alone. Not only will the story arc guest star various X-Men, including Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, but Jerry Dugan's ongoing X-Men title will connect with Captain Marvel starting in February's X-Men 19. Joined by artist Stefano Caselli, the arc will see the X-Men realizing that despite their efforts, the Brood are still a major threat that needs to be put down quickly and permanently. It's a crossover, but it sounds like the two arcs will be somewhat self-contained. The titled Revenge of the Brood and Lord of the Brood, both arcs represent a reunion of sorts as Captain Marvel and the X-Men fought alongside each other in the original Brood saga by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and Paul Smith. The iconic adventure changed Captain Marvel forever as she unlocked her binary form and saw the X-Men make some of their most intense sacrifices. The latest War with the Brood will pack the same emotional punch, and once again, neither parties will walk away unscathed. I have to be honest, my biggest takeaway from it is that the Vault story is gonna wrap up in just 3 more issues. That feels really quick.
Yeah, that feels too quick to me. Like, I want to spend more time with the vault.
Like, there's a chance the Vault's gonna be put on pause, but
True.
it doesn't feel like it because we're gonna be going into Fall of X not that long. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I
and they're
mean,
gonna have to fit the next Hellfire Gala in there somewhere. So it just feels like we're gonna be rapid firing through some stuff.
yeah, because I mean, in theory, I was gonna say because in theory they could be running concurrent, but like, how would you do that? So
Yeah.
just because like it doesn't say Forge is there and like he's very much a part of the Vault storyline right now.
That's fair. But then are we gonna take a 3 month pause? Because it's
Right.
3 issues they're going to the crossover.
That's why I was like they could be, but they probably aren't. And I don't know.
That might be my Christmas binge now. I always try to binge something over Christmas. I guess it'll be Captain Marvel just so that I can be fully up to date for the crossover. Uh, I don't know that I believe it's going to carry the same emotional punch. I don't see them killing off Rogue, Gambit, or Wolverine. Just
I mean, okay, here's the deal with that, right? I'm reading that and I'm like, okay, first of all, quite the cold shot. I don't know if I would be that confident about anything that I'm doing ever. But also like, hey, you guys have revival now. So will it actually
does anything have that much of an emotional punch anymore? Like in the same way, at least. Yeah.
Right.
But
See, I mean, it's another crossover, so I'm kind of like, man, I'd sure like these books to have like an ounce of breathing room, but
well, and it's another. I'm liking the core X crossovers, but seems like all of the piddly like where you dip our toes into a crossovers have all been pretty either completely unimportant or just bad. Like uh Devil's Reign had random X-Men tie-in issues that had no weight to the actual Devil's Reign arc. Just every little crossover they've had lately has just seemed irrelevant. So sandwiching this kind of like how Dark Web's looking to ramp up. Like I don't know how into Dark Web we're gonna be. It just feels unnecessary when we're having these really strong like X-Men focused crossovers. Like I'm really high on Sins of Sinister. I will probably be by next summer really into Fall of X. These little ones don't draw me in the same way.
yeah.
All right. You want to do some questions of the week? We have
Let's
a
do
few.
some questions.
We went through a few that we've put on pause, and we got time this week, so I say we hit them.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we asked, "Who's a character we didn't see judged in Judgment Day that you wish we had?" And we had our faithful, probably our only weekly watcher. We have more hits on the audio. We might have a few listeners. We got one view consistently every week, no matter what. He said, Broken Record said, I thought about this one for a few days, and I would have loved to have seen Juggernaut get judged. I think that would have had some interesting results. I like that. We haven't gotten enough Juggernaut lately. I feel like they started the him and Xavier like dealing with their stuff arc and then kind of dropped it, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think Juggernaut would have been a really fun one.
Did you have an answer?
God, I feel like I might have talked about this before, but I don't know. I think Eddie Brock would have been a fun one, and I know that that's like an easy go-to, but like,
did we answer?
I don't know. I feel like I've mentioned that, but that's also because I talk about Eddie Brock a lot.
That's what happened. We talked about it, but we filmed before because it was a week that we filmed pretty quick the next episode from. Okay, so we did answer. Well, I think my answer's changed, so I'm going to give my answer anyways because
Go for it.
It's been nagging me about how cool it would be if we had the Ultimate Universe still around. I would have loved to have seen how some of the like alternate, how would Ultimate Thor have reacted? The guy who wasn't really a god. How would Ultimate Cap with his like twisted nationalism? Like how would his judgment have gone differently than our Captain America? Uh, the Maker. There's
Ooh,
just so much potential.
the worst man in all of Marvel.
Like I want to see Ultimate Judgment Day. That's what I want to see now, and it's
That
gonna
would be
nag at
cool.
me for the rest of my life about like the what if.
That would be really cool.
Here's
Yeah,
one
I mean,
we go ahead.
no, go for it.
No, I was gonna move on, so please go.
Yeah, go for it. Move on. I was just going to talk more about Eddie Brock. I don't need to do that.
No, I want to hear it. Give your Eddie
Well,
Brock
just saying,
spiel.
I feel like we talked about it, but I just think with the whole godhood, but also being a dad that still doesn't think he's a good enough dad, and actually, spoilers for Venom, might be actually killed your son. Like, it's just a lot.
Yeah. Although I feel like they're not to go on a huge Venom tangent, but we got time this week, so I'll go on a
Yeah.
little Venom tangent. I feel like they're telegraphing like where they're going too much now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's gonna break the time cycle, but
Mm-hmm.
I am still enjoying that run though. Is
Yeah.
Ron just off the book? Like it seemed like
I-
he had all the issues for a while, and then now we're just only getting Al Ewing's side of the story. It feels like.
I have no idea what's going on with it. Honestly, I've been having trouble keeping up with my weeklies anyway. So
That's fair. But we forced you to read so many X-Men books. You can't keep.
well, what'll happen is every week I read my X books, and then like I'll read the rest in like 2-week chunks.
I'm sorry, we've done that too,
Oh.
my friend.
It's fine.
But speaking of Marvel runs that I know are near and dear to your heart, can we have another detour and talk Donny Cates?
Yeah,
So,
my man.
do we know what's going on with his Thor run? Has he publicly said anything yet?
I haven't seen anything public. Donnie is not a big social media guy anymore. He kind of, I don't want to say he got chased off of Twitter, but
He got Tom Taylored a little.
yeah, he got done with Twitter for a bit, and then I want to say he had to come back because Vanish was coming out or something, so he had to come back and be like, "Hey, everybody, Vanish."
That makes sense.
But he hasn't said a ton. But I'm bad about keeping up with social media on creators like that.
I 100% don't blame you. I don't think I follow like any of the actual creators. I read the X-Men Monday. That's my way of keeping up with creators. I love those interviews.
Yeah.
But so solicitations came out today. No, DC's came out today. Marvel's came out yesterday. And Thor 30 is coming in February. And it is again written by Torin Gronbeck. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her name. Which I am totally cool with her doing the guest arc because she wrote that really good Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor miniseries. But she came on for 2 issues, and it was explicitly said it was a 2-issue filler arc, essentially, like a guest arc.
Yeah.
Issue 30 is listed as the beginning of a new arc and continue their journey into mysterious waters. What will it reveal about the future of the entire Marvel universe? Like, they're making it sound like this is them stepping in much more substantially. Like, if this is now a 3rd issue that they're taking on and it's the start of a new arc, means they're going at least 5 issues. It would be really weird if Donnie didn't get to have a conclusion, right?
Yeah, especially because I know that when Hulk was first starting, a lot of people were asking him on Twitter, like, hey, does this mean that like Thor is coming to a close? And like his whole thing was like, no, I have really big things planned for Thor. I plan on writing him well beyond Banner of War.
He made it 2 issues after Banner of War.
Right.
Although,
so like,
rumor, I don't know how true this is. Supposedly, he didn't even write those issues. He only plotted them, and it was all Al Ewing. So I don't know what's going on there. Hulk is also on like an every other month schedule, so hopefully everything's okay. And
all my favorite books they're suffering.
All right. Our other question of the week. I'm sorry for that detour. It blew my mind when I saw we really weren't getting Kate's back for at least 3 more months. That was.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good with an occasional detour.
All right. The other question we had was, what's a director character combo? Because it was based off the quote about I can't think of the guy's name, but anyways, what's a director writer combo for a single X-Men movie? Like a director you'd want to write a single movie. And again, our number one fan, Broken Record, wrote in, I think my pick, I'm going to go with a multiple man movie directed by Guillermo del Toro. I feel like he could do some really gnarly practical effects for multiple man, really lean into the body horror aspect. Alternatively, a hyper-violent action thriller in the style of John Wick featuring soft serve, which he knows the way to my heart. Anything involving soft serve is immediately on my top of my list. The multiple man idea is really cool. I actually had originally been trying to think of with like a Paul Thomas Anderson for multiple man or something, but going the body horror direction is really cool too.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool.
So I had two, and they're both specific and maybe not up everybody's alley, but I would want either a Wes Anderson directed Phantom X movie. I think that would be really fun and like an angle we have not seen, or Richard Linklater doing a Jubilee movie.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that would be really fun.
He's like the king of '90s nostalgia, so I feel like that would be perfect.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd like that one a lot. I remember I wanted director Martin McDonagh to take on something. I can't remember what I was thinking specifically, but
Okay.
Martin McDonagh is my favorite director. So
I feel like giving him not this current volume, but giving him a Kitty Pryde led Marauders. Like,
ooh.
I feel like he would direct Kitty Pryde's attitude really well.
Yes, I can get into that, especially because just last weekend I saw his new movie Banshees of Inisherin, and
Is that
fantastically fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, I really would like for him to do something in that like snarky X-Men zone because he's so good at that snark. Kitty Pryde, I like that a lot. I'm gonna go with that, like a Kitty Pryde led Marauders.
I think it'd be really cool. Martin McDonagh. When I worked in the movie theater, my very first job, senior year of high school,
in Bruges.
TAQ, yeah, in Bruges came out, and me and one other guy that worked there happened to go in blind on like the first Monday. So it was out for the weekend, and we went to see it Monday because that was just our thing. So we went and we saw as many as soon as we got out of school, we went down and we watched all the free movies on Monday because we had to work all weekend.
Yep.
And I don't think we ever campaigned harder for like all of our coworkers to go see a movie. We were like our 17-year-old minds were so blown by In Bruges, and both the type of comedy it had in it, but then how impactful it was. And I worked there for like 2.5 years, and I came back every summer when I was in college. And out of every movie I saw while I worked there, that was the single most important. Like that movie changed my life in so many ways. Love that movie.
For real. I loved In Bruges. Funny enough, I was working at the movie theater when Seven Psychopaths came out.
Okay.
And me and my friends were campaigning that all of the coworkers need to see it. And a lot of my coworkers were like, well, I don't want to see a movie alone. I was like, I'll go with you. It's free. Let's go. And I ended up seeing Seven Psychopaths 7 times.
That's hilarious.
But I'll have to see if I can dig it up. I actually have a picture of my truck from then with the standee for Seven Psychopaths with, oh my gosh. Why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? Woody Harrelson. Harrelson. The standee for Woody Harrelson in the back of my truck because I took it home.
That's awesome. My not anywhere near as good. My parents' garage. My dad still has Adam Sandler's head from the "You Don't Mess with the Zohan" standee, like taped to his tool bench because I fought hard to get it carefully folded and into the backseat of my car. So like literally, he rode with like his head holding the hairdryer sticking out of my backseat, and I had the whole standee in my bedroom like all of senior year, and then when I left for college, instead of getting rid of it, my dad saved the head, and so it's still in his garage almost 20 years later. I don't know that I knew you'd worked in a movie. We've talked about other parallels, but I don't know if that one had ever come up.
I worked at a movie theater for 2 years around 2012, and it's like where my core group of friends, we all met each other.
That's awesome. We have too many parallels in our lives.
Truly.
All right. Believe it or not, I have one more game for us.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the game.
And I need to change my lighting setup a little because we're going to be going into APR After Dark.
Ooh, ooh.
All right. So this is a little game. Again, Joe of X's recommendation. That guy is just essentially our fourth. Broken Record is our third host, and he's our fourth host. They're just part of the show now. He recommended uh, the classic game F Mary Kill, but we're gonna make more mutants Mary Kill because that's one of the laws of mutant kind.
Yes.
So I got five trios of characters, and we are both going to decide which one we would make more mutants with, which one we'd marry, and which one we'd kill. And then, uh, if you're in the audience and you have a strong opinion on any of the five, I want to hear them. So throw them in the comments, email them to us, whatever. I want to hear people's takes on this. First one I'm going to throw at you from our buddy Joe, Mr. Sinister, Tarn the Uncaring, and Mikhail Rasputin.
God. Okay. Hold on.
Do you have to look at Tarn? You have to remind yourself just how ugly Tarn is.
Exactly what I have to do. Okay. I don't. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make more mutants with Mikhail Rasputin. I'm gonna.
He looks like he spoons well. I think that's a good call.
Yeah, he looks, and I listen. I'm gonna marry Mr. Sinister. If you laugh every day, then you feel good, and he's a funny guy. And I'm gonna kill Tarn the Uncanny.
I hear you 100%. But as far as we know, Sinister has been married once, and that did not go well for Mrs. Sinister. So I think I'm gonna have to flip, and I'll make another mutant with him. He's a handsome man. I mean, especially if it's the feral version we saw naked in this issue. Yeah, Tarn's dead. Tarn's just gone. And Mikhail is a powerful man. I feel like I'll be his trophy husband for a while. Like get into politics. Like it seemed to work for Melania. It'll work for me.
Yeah, and listen. Here's the thing. I have convinced multiple people to buy Breath of the Wild because of my hots for the fish guy in Breath of the Wild. So it's not that Tarn is like semi-aquatic looking. It's just, there's other things.
Did not know about the what's his name? Prince, what is it?
Prince Sidon?
I did not know you were Prince Sidon, man, but this is good to know.
Listen, look at him.
This is fair. This is fair. All right, you ready for another trio?
Yes.
This is the old Summers Brothers Challenge. Cyclops, Havoc, and Vulcan.
Oh man. Okay. I am going to marry Cyclops because he is theoretically down with a polycule, so therefore keep my options open.
This is a good call.
Okay, now here's the toss-up, right? Not a big fan of either of them right now.
Basically, your choice is: do you get rid of the intergalactic horrifying guy or the prick?
Right. I guess I'm gonna have to kill Vulcan and make more mutants with Havoc.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah.
That is probably what I would go with. I'll give you. All right, we got another one. Joe gave us two. His other suggestion: Emma Jean Storm.
This one's difficult. This one's hard for me personally. Okay. Oh, I don't know. I still don't know. And I saw Joe comment this, and I've been like thinking about it, and I still don't know. I need you to go first. I truly do.
I will take this one. Emma can die, and I need nothing with Miss Frost. That's fine. See, the problem is both Jean and Storm, we know, aren't great at being married.
True.
They've both blown it. But I feel like Jean has come back around, and her marriage failing was not so much on her plate. So, and Storm is Storm. So I think I'm going to make more mutants with Storm, marry Jean.
That's, yeah. You know what? Okay, so Kill Emma.
Easy.
Make More Mutants with Jade Cargill. I mean Storm. And and Mary Jane. I can agree to that.
Has Jade done a Storm cosplay yet?
She has. She's come
Okay.
out with like white hair and like a black thing.
Okay.
And it made me and my buddy Joe, not Joe of X, but a different Joe, go look at each other and go, okay, so that's who we cast for Storm, right?
Oh, she rocked the She-Hulk look last month or month before, so I'm not
Mhm.
surprised to hear she's done Storm at some point. All right. We got 2 left. Do you want the boys or the girls first?
You know what? Let's go with the boys first.
Wolverine, Deadpool, Sabretooth.
Kill Sabretooth. Oh, well, but maybe Wade can die. No, you know what? We'll kill Sabretooth. Well, wow. We'll make more mutants with Wolverine.
You're gonna marry Deadpool.
You know, here's the thing. Deadpool seems like he could theoretically be a very caring individual if persuaded.
And I feel like if not, he's just gonna be like he's always at like being married to him is you're not really tied down to much. He's always off gallivanting.
Yeah, and I mean otherwise it's like an actual sick mother anyways and a an alcoholic.
This is very fair. Very fair.
I had second thoughts. I almost killed Deadpool, but I'm gonna marry him.
All right, and our very last one.
Well, hold on, no, you have to do yours.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that Make More Mutants means you can have the interaction once and never see them again. So
yeah,
Sabretooth's fine. I can make more mutants with Sabretooth and just never see the man again. Marrying Wade and Logan can just are just too much hair.
That's like, actually really fair. Very, very fair.
All right. In honor of our other #1 fan, The Broken Record, and his love of this book, we love it too, but he's referred to Exterminators as like his favorite book of the year and things along those lines. Boom Boom, Jubilee, Dazzler.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. This one's tough. Okay. I'm gonna make more mutants with Boom Boom.
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm gonna marry Jubilee.
Okay.
Dazzler, nothing personal. It's more of a process of elimination than a personal attack.
This is fair. Here's my logic. You know what, marrying Jubilee, I just feel like she'd be awesome to hang out with. She'd want to play arcade games all the time. Like, Make More Mutants with Dazzler, and I'm gonna let Boom Boom die mostly because I don't think I could make more mutants seriously while calling a woman Boom Boom.
That's half the fun.
Boom Boom, we're gonna Boom Boom. Like, exactly. No, I just can't do it. All right, this has been probably the least listenable, but the most fun episode to record. I have had a blast with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next week, we have X-Men 17. Apparently, the beginning of the end for the Vault story already. And X-Force 34.
So we get to have our Beast Hate Hour.
Maybe that's going to be mostly in Wolverine now. I don't know. I'm so confused on that book. Like,
me too.
It was the last issue of Wolverine that was all about him turning the X-Force into the floating skull base. So who knows?
That's true. Yeah, we'll have to see.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. I think that's it.
All right. That'll do it for us. Make sure you like us, review us on the places, follow us, and if nothing else, tell a friend who you think might enjoy it. That Nerdy Papa Bear on all the socials. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Until next time, don't name your kid Charles.